All right, so here's my opening question.
Yeah.
Did
42.
any of you who raise your hand who thought this movie would end with the two of them in Pittsburgh opening a successful car wash? Okay. Just checking.
Just a finger?
No.
Not of that point.
Not even a finger.
Not even
No.
a finger. I'm
No.
amazed that they made it to Detroit.
Yeah. Yeah, it took long enough to get to Detroit.
When they ended up in prison again, I was like, well, this is the end of the movie.
Yeah. No, we have to wait another 9 years later. No,
Yeah,
9 years earlier.
I spent most of this movie wondering why it existed. I like,
You know what?
why does this movie exist?
This is the question, because this was between Godfather 1 and 2. It was between French Connection and The Conversation.
Mhm.
These guys were on the literal top of the world.
And they made
Why does
this.
this film
love
exist?
this movie.
And both of
loved
them,
it?
They love it.
Oh, they love it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both
okay.
think it's their favorite film. It's like,
I mean, I thought Al Pacino was endearing with his village idiot smile.
Yeah.
Gene Hackman, who I've always liked, I disliked intensely. I hate his character in this movie. He's awful.
but that's
I
good
thought it was
acting.
one of his better characters.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess you can't fault the acting. It's just the situations. It was so nonsensical sometimes. It's like the reason they ended up in jail made no sense.
It's because you were too young in the 70s.
It's because I was too young in the 70s to understand the 70s.
You know what? I'll second that. There's a weird kind of a hobo kind of a understanding in this film that we didn't.
Well,
we
it's
didn't
like
get.
hobo nostalgia.
Yeah, that's like
It's
latter. They're like
too late for real hobos.
right. It's like latter day hobos.
Yeah,
They're still
yeah.
jumping on
Wow.
trains and stuff.
Yeah, but that would have been an awesome title for this
This is
film.
Waiting for Hobo.
Waiting for hobo.
Waiting
Yeah, too much.
Exactly.
You know,
And it's
you
spelled with
guys.
a T at the end, right?
You guys said it was going to be like Waiting for Godot, but too much happened for it to be like Waiting for Godot.
Yeah.
Sure about that?
I mean, nothing of import happened. It was like just a series of events
Yeah.
that sometimes made not a lick
It
of
was a
sense.
70s road flick.
Oh my God.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
I'll tell you, I
I
didn't think any of it added up to anything until he finally did get to Detroit and made the phone call
Yeah.
and that fucking scene. Let's talk about those movies where one actor does one scene and like probably deserves an Oscar. I thought he was good and maybe great. The woman, the wife or girlfriend, and what she said to him was so terrible.
Mhm.
I mean, that's really memorable. And
it was a masculine child.
It's so memorable.
I kept
Pretty
remembering
much.
Godfather too.
So memorable, it kills him.
It was an abortion.
And then the
I
movie
aborted him.
it turned back into nonsense. It's like, does he really go into a catatonic state in the fountain?
Oh,
Because
let me just say
But
that
you
I did
read
not
that the guy
intend.
he's trying to make a sequel.
Now, between this and Kevin and the previous Betty Blue, I did not realize I was doing a mental illness triple feature.
You know, first thing I thought of was the end of Cuckoo's Nest, and then immediately Betty Blue, because it was like, what's going on?
Exactly.
It's the same ending.
Although I think the film has a theme, and it's kind of like a delicate one. It's about two guys who don't trust each other. They're coming together, and they kind of have a tentative kind of a bond, you know, where they kind of try. It says, we have Hackman's character saying, I trust you, Lion, and, you know, we're going to work together. Then the thing happens where he blames him for going to jail. And
For no reason.
And of course, when they're separated, bad shit happens to both of them. And extremely bad shit happens to Pacino's
Lion.
character.
Yeah.
Then they get back to this kind of like have each other's backs trust thing. And that goes on until I think the trauma of the separation screws him up. I think that's one of the reasons he went nuts, was not just because this horrible woman saying these awful things, is that I think that he was a different character after the jail. He didn't have the same kind of joie de vivre, you know what I'm talking about?
He didn't have the resilience to take that after what happened in jail.
It really screwed him
like
up.
left.
Yeah.
I don't think it was so horrible. I think she was totally within her rights to tell him he's an asshole.
But to tell him that your baby died when I was 8 months pregnant because I fell down on the ice and you weren't there. I mean, she was twisting the knife, not just
now
he
he can't
did.
go to
adding
heaven.
more knives
But
to
I
the
think she
twisted
was
knife.
just doing
Yes.
it for a pragmatic reason, that she just didn't want him back in her life.
Well, Jesus Christ, she went over the freaking top, make sure she wasn't
Except
gonna be
as
he
soon
wasn't
as
gonna be
she-
back there.
Except as soon as she hangs up, or as soon as he hangs up, she realizes that she made a mistake.
Yeah.
Or that she went too far, at least.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about, that performance.
Might
I
have
just
been a
thought she
little
was terrific.
She was really terrific.
She
And,
was good.
Yeah. And his reaction was like kind of surprising. It's like, hey, it's a boy.
It's a boy.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
to-
He went off into
And then he
cuckoo.
goes into a catatonic state.
I mean, the movie went right back into cuckoo land, right? Immediately after that scene.
Yeah. But
Remember we were talking
Well,
about
his character is a little complicated, right?
Mm.
Is he really the village idiot? Is he really as stupid as he lets on? Because at points it seems like he isn't.
You think?
yeah, he
Yeah.
has some
guys
cagey
remember
stuff
we were talking
going on
about
here.
Mikey and Nikki, which this movie reminded me a lot of.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Another
Oh,
70s
Feels
road.
like actors with a capital A, like just like kind of
Killing time.
riffing off each other because they're so impressed with their ability to like be in the moment. Yeah, but I was reminded, I mean, like this came out what 73, 74.
73.
73.
This is extremely of it's like Jim, you mentioned it's a road picture. You know, I think about things like 5 Easy Pieces and like, you know, some of the stuff Rafelson was doing, like very loosey goosey, just a bare semblance of a plot because it's just actors acting.
Yeah.
We were talking
Well,
before
Tad
with
and I were talking about Harry and Tonto, and
Harry
Cool
Tonto,
Pot,
and I
too,
said
sorry.
Freebie and the Bean. So these kind of
For sure.
yeah,
Freebie
very
and the
much
Bean.
like these.
It really was a subgenre of like new American cinema.
Rafferty and the Gold Dust Twins.
When you
Yes.
a subgenre meaning what Chris just described, where the actors are getting all this time to kind of
Well, it's actor centered kind of adventure story.
Actor-centric,
yeah.
It's more about characters than
Yeah.
plot.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they spent so much time on the pancakes and the oatmeal or whatever it was in that one scene at the
Oh
diner.
man, that whole scene of him eating oatmeal is just
How many scenes
Yeah.
of Gene Hackman counting change?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I would like to say I fucking loved the ending. The blackout
Me too.
after the shot of him banging the shoe.
the shoe on the thing. I love the fact that she doesn't go off on him. She's
No,
just
she's
like,
just staring at him.
she's just like,
And it
okay,
explains
do
it really well. It explains
She
why
sees
it was
that shit
doing it.
every day.
Right. If
Yeah.
you work for Greyhound, that's like 90% of what you do all day.
Yeah.
You just wait for
People-
somebody to get that fucking $10 bill out of their boot so you can
It's a
get 'em
great
out of your
ending.
line.
Exactly.
It's a great ending, and it felt very modern to me.
When she
Also-
helps the other woman, because you can't see her, but she basically, you can tell she goes like this, and then
Yeah.
the other woman comes and walks
Yeah.
around and then
Yeah,
does
yeah.
what she needs to do.
And he
while
moves
he's there
to the
trying to
side
fucking
and he pulls his money back.
Yeah.
right.
Well, mind you, this
The
also
penknife.
I
Yeah.
thought the gratifying part about that thing was just fun watching him get his $10 out of his boot. You know, it's
Mhm.
like keeping his boot under his.
Because I was
Oh, all the time.
expecting
They
it to
make
be
fun of
like
him having his-
$100 or something. and
Yeah,
it's
Yeah,
not.
it was a
$10
$10 bill.
back then. $10 is $200.
And apparently some nickels or something, because that's why he was banging
But
it.
the fact he went through all that effort to the boot like that to make a round trip ticket happen, that was the point of the scene.
Yeah.
Mm,
He was
mhm.
supposed to
I
go
was
one way
amazed
to
that it was
Pittsburgh
a
and start
round
his
trip.
business, but he wanted to make sure he could go back and visit his friend.
Right.
That was just
Right.
really neat. That was a
Yeah.
neat
Oh,
moment.
I don't think he wants to go back and visit his friend. I think in his mind he's going to go back and he'll be okay, and he'll take him back. And
Yeah.
They're
have
gonna open
the
they're gonna
business
open the car
together.
wash.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's still in that mind space that this is all going to work out.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's the
It
one who
was-
should get smothered with the pillow at the end of the movie. Like, he's the delusional one,
I know.
Right.
With his like 17 layers of clothing he wears all the time.
Really.
which does
He's
make for the
cold.
striptease very funny.
It is. That was a
The
very funny scene.
striptease is a great scene too.
Oh, I kept watching that and just watching it. Said, Jesus, this guy must smell. Oh my God.
Yeah, right.
It's funny because you've got these two characters who are intensely committed to their bit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you also have the actors playing these characters intensely committed to the bit.
Right.
Who are from different schools of acting, right?
Pretty
So
much.
Al Pacino pissed off Hackman because he's like a method actor.
Right.
Hackman pissed off
just
everyone
wanted to
'cause
be
he's an
quiet
asshole.
until he went on
Mhm.
a scene.
Yeah, watch out for those tall actors, man.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they are really Mutt and Jeff though.
I mean, it's definitely odd and not much happens. I don't know that I didn't hate it. I was just like, because again, maybe I kind of knew what was coming. Like this is one of those movies. I'm glad you picked it, Scott, because I've been wanting to watch for a long time. I understood that people who like Hackman and Pacino really, really like it. That the guy that made it didn't really do much afterward. I don't
No. I think he was run over by a bus after.
Vilmos Zsigmond, the photography, it's like it looks like it's almost like the prototypical. This is what movies were like with A-list talent in 1973.
Right. Yeah.
And yet you watch it and then I got a major Mikey and Nikki whiff off this thing.
Yeah. This is Mikey and Nikki with a better budget.
More locations and daylight scenes instead of everything in the dark.
Exactly.
You'll all disagree, but I think it has a better script too.
I like that.
No,
Mikey
that's
and
true.
Nikki, I think I borderline loathed.
This movie was like eating a really, really, really nice loaf of white bread. Like if you went and bought the most expensive white bread that you could get, like it's good, it tastes good. Like this bread is decent, and that's the acting in this movie makes it compelling on a certain level. But at the end of it, you're just kind of like, I ate a loaf of white bread.
Yeah, true. I'm just more amazed that this film exists. I mean, it's just such a strange idea that you couldn't make this.
Never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's just no. It was obscure. It's an obscure film. I mean, it's just like one that's considering the top level stars you got in this thing. It's like it's strange that no one's really heard of it.
Yeah,
this should have been a bigger deal, but I think maybe it was even too. What the fuck just happened? Even for 1973, but there were a lot of these kinds of movies being made at that point.
I mean,
I know there were.
It doesn't. It has a through line, but
what was it? The studio that did Last Picture Show and King of Marvin Gardens and last, like hello, you ever seen those?
Yeah.
Bob Rafelson from 73. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. Like King of Marvin Gardens is a lot like this, where you got Bruce Stern and Nicholson intensely committed to the bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Five Easy Pieces too.
What the hell did I do?
Five Easy Pieces, same
No,
thing.
there's a lot of people have not seen that film, so it's like that, or sometimes a Great Notion. It's got a
I
different
think
name.
it's Karen Black's best.
Yeah.
Well, there are these little character studies of these guys who maybe getting the crap kicked out of them by life, and yet they find a kinship.
Yeah.
And then it it turns into like a road picture.
Right.
Mostly it's just like the shot behind me, like just two guys walking and talking for an hour and 40 minutes.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And that was just, I guess it was a time when Hollywood would give you money to go and do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, a very different time.
Uh-huh.
So why did Gene Hackman punch that guy, and why did they go to jail?
Oh, I have no fucking idea.
Everything was fine. He was standing in the garbage can. By the way, if I'd had time to get a frame grab, it would have been Dustin Hoffman in the hazmat suit inside the garbage can on fire.
Yeah.
I think it was a disturbing the peace thing. They had a fire going. They're partying outside.
But then he punched that guy, and that's when the cop cars.
Yeah. It's just one of those things.
Because the cops pulled that guy over for causing a public disturbance.
Oh, the scene behind
and then he cold cocks him.
Yeah,
he does. It's completely unmotivated.
I know.
Yeah. No, it's
everyone's drunk, so there it is. But the scene behind Chad, I love because there's that fight in that pig enclosure.
Yeah,
that's all done in long shot.
That was good.
That was
there's one stunningly beautiful scene in this entire movie, and it's this. And the rest of it looks like crap.
I know, but they're fighting, and then you see the two guys the other pigpen kind of wander over and watch them.
I like
these guys right here.
Those guys, yeah.
Dad, thanks for pulling that because I love that part.
That was a fun scene. I don't know why.
It's like it's Thursday. Let's just watch this for a while.
Yeah. Well, they're on the Honor Farm in Denver County.
Yeah. This movie is full of those smash cuts. It's like, okay, the scene's over.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah, real punctuated.
Richard Lynch and the weird prosthetic penis and.
You know what? I must have I stroked out. I missed the part with the dick.
Wait a minute, prosthetic penis?
Yeah, go look. It's there.
Huh?
Oh God, do I want to? Okay, I'll put it up.
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah. Not really. Wow. I was actually kind of surprised it was as explicit as it was, but yeah.
All right. Well, it's the 70s.
You're saying it wasn't Dick Lynch's real dick?
Hey, who knows, man? Right?
I mean, this was the era of biker movies where everyone was naked half the time and shit like that. Like there was definitely a less pervasive culture of censorship in these films, especially when Easy Rider got so big. Like it was like, oh, we can kind of do this, we can kind of push back a little bit. And that's all. I mean, a lot of this movie feels like pushing back. Like it feels like the 60s were still very buttoned up in a lot of ways, even though there was all this counterculture stuff that was happening off at the edges of it, but especially in mainstream cinema it was. And this feels like, you know, this is what the people who weren't hippies did. You know,
Yeah.
it's like we're gonna make a movie about the people who aren't hippies, and it's these guys, you know.
Well, yeah, because I mean, think of The Graduate. I mean, you have breasts, kind of like be a frame or two of Mrs. Robinson.
And that movie was rated X when it came out. Now it's rated G.
Right.
Pretty much.
No,
You can
literally.
see it uncut.
When it was re-released, it was released as a G-rated
G
movie.
picture. Well,
Like,
Yeah,
You
nothing
got any?
particularly controversial.
times have changed.
Pat, I'll pick up off of what you just said. I think that there is something notable about this, which is the two main characters are two, like they're not hippies, but it's like working class guys who are getting, you know, life's kind of kicking them around a little bit. I mean, like this is a level of socioeconomic status that didn't usually get a lot of movies made about it.
yeah, they were too old. They were too old to get drafted and go to Vietnam.
Right.
So what happens? One of them
Right.
ends up in jail. One of them ends up as a merchant marine, and that's what happened. You
His
know,
big
like
dream is to open a fucking
car wash.
Yeah.
Well,
It's got it all
that's like
planned
a
out.
parody of the American dream.
Yeah, it's
right?
got almost
Right.
$3,000 saved up for it. So I guess I would have
Got it all planned out.
Yeah.
That's right, a car wash.
$3,000 would buy you a reasonable house. Like,
Yeah, I know. So he's probably ready to go with that car wash idea.
Wandering around,
It's
yeah.
not a terrible plan.
No, it's not. It's practical. That's the thing. Right?
$2,000, you could buy a defunct iron steel mill in.
Yeah.
I mean,
Although it's
he's
funny
not,
'cause
he's not
it-
talking about one of these. He's talking about like one of those shacks with the spray
Right.
thing.
Well, like where
Probably.
his sister lives,
Yeah. What's weird is that
Cooley
this
or
film
whatever
is
her
like
name
And
is.
Yeah,
that's going to be great when that happens. And
Yeah.
Pacino is like, I'm all in. I have no problem working hard for
Yeah.
a living.
Yeah.
And that was
Well,
again. I
he
didn't-
worked on a fucking ship.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. It's a shame it didn't work
Not a
out. Like you said, I
slacker.
got that one finger hoping it would work, but I guess-
You
yeah,
know,
but
you
it's-
wish the story was tighter and the script was smarter, but I think it had a lot of other elements going. I mean, I'm glad I watched it. I don't know that it's a great movie.
yeah, that's pretty good.
Curiosity.
Yeah, I don't think of it as a great movie, but it was definitely worth
It's
watching.
just curious. It's a curious.
It's the curiosity.
Curiosity. It is. It's a
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
strange
just-
thing. Considering how amazingly famous these dudes are, it's
Well,
really
it won-
weird.
Did it win the Palme d'Or or the gold? What did it win?
it won the thing that eventually would become the Palme d'Or.
Got
Yeah.
it.
No.
Which is kind of remarkable. But and then I mean, I just
But you didn't
Oh,
have, I mean, you keep
Photos,
talking
French
about,
people.
but you keep talking about how this is so, you know, it's a 70s road picture and all that other stuff. I really feel like this is different. I feel like this movie does get a little bit deeper. First of all, these people are losers. You
Right.
don't get that many movies where the main characters are losers, you know, even in a road picture, someone's generally
Hardcore.
cool.
Right.
Well, hardcore, yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like it just dawned on me that it really not the story or anything, but sort of the feeling, the zeitgeist, I guess, the atmosphere reminds me a lot of hardcore.
Hardcore's in the middle of the spectrum,
movie?
and you have Mikey and
No,
Nicky
no,
on one
blue
side.
collar. I'm
Blue
sorry.
collar.
Oh, blue collar. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
but hardcore
Sure.
even too.
But
Like,
hardcore has the same sort of vibe to it.
yeah, and this is in the middle of that spectrum where, you know, you have Mikey and Nicky on one side where you have shit acting and bad writing and it's shot terribly, and on the other side of it you've got this, which is like, well, you know, it's shot decently, the acting's really good and the writing's okay,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
hardcore's in the middle where the acting's terrible, the writing's decent, and the shot and the shoots are
It felt like this movie was a collection of these like little scenes where, like I said, the actors were clearly fully committed in the service of like a sort of loose, like a meandery.
Does anybody know how much of it was improvised? Because it felt
It felt
improvised.
a lot.
I'm sure there was
I
all
would
suggestions
imagine.
and enrolled, and they just kind of.
Mhm.
I'm
I don't know
sure
how-
they
especially
did a lot
Pacino
of
stuff.
yeah.
What's his
Pacino-
name? Jerry Schatzberg.
Pacino was improvising. He was doing like his little monkey impression and running all over the place. He's definitely exactly.
You
That
think
was pretty
Jerry
funny.
Schatzky at this point in his career was going to give notes to the guys from The Godfather and The French
No.
Connection?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you're not going to Popeye
Basically
Doyle
point
and
the camera in their direction and say,
Go for it.
whatever."
yeah,
I don't know how
I
improvised
felt-
it was, but it definitely felt written on the day.
yeah. It did maybe, but still, as I said, Popeye Doyle and Michael Corleone. You're not going to tell him what to do.
Or
Well, did he
ugly
win
years.
Best
still
Picture
think
for
of
that?
Unforgiven as his
Two A+ list actors riffing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like I
He's
said,
still,
it's-
he's
it's-
still
it's-
the best Lex Luthor.
It's a great curiosity, man. It's an amazing curiosity of a film. I have to admit. All right, I'll do thumbs up.
I'm grateful to you, Scott.
Oh, you're welcome. Hey, thumbs up.
I'm gonna give you a mile and 3/4.
This
Well,
is
it's my film, so I'm gonna say I liked it because it's just we came on TCM one night and we watched all the way through. It was like, this is just weird because these guys were incredibly famous. They have no reason doing
Oh, so
this.
you've seen it.
You know, these guys, you know, they probably had to share a trailer. I mean, can you imagine?
this is one of those
I
movies
didn't even think they
though.
had a trailer. Scott.
Yeah.
This is one of those movies though, when I get to the end of the year stuff and I'm going back and I'm reading through the list of everything that we watched to pick my top 5, I'm gonna go, oh yeah, we watched that. Because that's that's what it's going to register in my brain. It's like,
It's like-
oh yeah, we watched that.
The smooth brain take, right? It's like, I think I saw it. Exactly. All right.